I mean, playing at that stadium in front of our fans is the best games every year. So I think we're looking forward to it very much, and also to see where we are now. I mean, we had a tough spell of games after the summer when we played the big teams. I'm ready to go again and see if we have a good chance to get a win here.
Yeah, that special location for a match. How much does that inspire the team, do you think?
I mean, that's where we want to be. I think the players deserve to play at that big stage, and it's amazing because the fans always are behind us at that stadium. Last season, obviously, we had a win against Arsenal there, and so we have a really good memory. Tough game this year when we played Arsenal, but it always feels good when we come there and make sure we can be on that professional level, and hopefully this time we can also make sure we have some really good football.
And here we are. Manchester United up there where Arsenal usually are, or thereabouts, second in the table. Are you surprised that they're there at the moment?
Not really. I think they are one of the 4 teams in this league that have performed for a few years now. Signed some good players. I think this year they have nailed the pressing game and how they defend very well. So Mark Skinner has been there for a few years now. Get to know how they're going to play and everything. So no, I'm not surprised. I'm actually they are playing good football and they are defending very well right now.
So how do you see your chances against them? What do you need to do to get the points and put in a good performance against them?
I think one thing is to be very disciplined. We need to understand that we cannot attack the whole game. We're probably going to defend for a while as well, and we need to be very disciplined to make sure we defend together. We need still have the bravery to keep the ball and find a way to attack as well. So we cannot only kick long and hope for some glory. We need to make sure we are brave on the ball as well. But it's the pulse of the game, taking the right decisions in the right moments. Make sure you go for it when you can, and make sure you are disciplined to defend when you need to, and basically put your heart there and do it for the club and try to get the 3 points.
I mean, was it 6th in the table at the moment? Not that far off the top 3 or 4, a little bit of a gap. But are you confident? You've spoken there about ready to go again, and as we move towards the summer, where would you like to be? Come the end of the season.
I think if you go 1 year back, we were top 6 after that season, which was a good year. And then you we want to be better this year. But I also think that the second year when you came here was also like a few players. We lost a few players, brought a few now in, so you need to restart a little bit. I still think now that we are stable, but we're not really performing 90 minutes every game, so we're still not there. But I want to make sure when we end this season that we are more of a good performance in these big games. If we don't win this year, I want to make sure we have we are near now to make sure that the next season we can go for it. But obviously we are on the same point as the top 5 right now, so we want to make sure we can get higher in the table as well if it's possible.
Obviously it goes without saying how important Beth is to you. I think it's 7 goals, 1 assist in the last 12 WSL matches. As I say, it goes without saying, but could you put into words, how important it is that she's playing so well for you at the moment?
I think all teams need their goal scorer. Last season we have Martha Thomas scoring a lot of goals. This season it's been Bethany. So you need one of them who can be consistent. That's really good. And then you need several more who can contribute as well. But the rest with Bethany England is how she is as a person, as a leader, what she brings to the team and everything. She's a great role model for the younger ones, to represent the club. So I'm a massive fan of Bethany England, and I'm very happy to have her.
And just finally for me, Jess Naz as well, her form, playing at a high level at the moment.
So the problem with Jessica Naz is that she's a very X-factor player, which means that when the game works fine and we play a certain style, then she can be extremely good. If we don't really have the rhythm in the game, she can be not get the balls right and everything. So she's still quite young in that phase to make sure she can get into the games. But her X-factor is really high, and I think that's why they're using her in the national team as well, right? So I just hope we can be even more consistent in the way we play, so we can put her in the right positions to make sure she can score more goals. And what's your role in that, in helping her develop and become? I mean, obviously, I'm having talks with her. I'm having plannings and tactics and everything with that. But the other thing is to make sure we have a really good identity how to play and how she understands the game, so she can use her X-factor. And sometimes in the games we don't really have that flow in the game yet, and then it's harder for her to use her X-factor. So for me, it's basically make sure that the team play even better football, because then she's one of those players who are going to have a benefit from that. Good luck on Sunday. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Alex?
Afternoon, Robert. I just want to ask, really, obviously a disappointing exit on Wednesday. It now means you just have 10 games left this season. Does that change your perspective at all, looking at the rest of the campaign?
Yeah, I mean, now we only have the league, and now we can only focus on one game weeks and how we're going to make sure we have good structure in the training and the way we play and try to climb higher in the table, right? So in one way, yeah, now we can focus on that. On the other hand, we also shown now that we have, we're not really there yet where we can actually perform and compete Sunday, Wednesday. So we need to make sure we also take steps so we can win those games, because you can tell we tried our best and everybody tried their best, but we lost 2 cup games in those midweek games. So we need to make sure we can develop that for next season, because the cup is so fun to be at, and we had a really good cup final last season. But right now we're going to make sure we have a good performance against Man United, and then week by week until we go to May and end the season, we're going to try to be more stable in the performances and hopefully look upwards in the table.
And you mentioned England just earlier on, but obviously 7 goals this season. It's the second most in the league. There is an international break coming up. Do you think it's maybe time for Sarina Wiegman to consider an England recall back into the England team?
I mean, obviously she's performing very well right now, and the way she's playing is really massive for us. I'm not actually really sure how she want to use the 9 role if she brings Beth back to the national team. I think she should be one of the candidates, absolutely. But on the other hand, she's used Jessica Nass as a 9, which means it's a different 9 as well. So, but if she keeps performing, she's probably going to have a good chance to get back there.
And of course, today it was announced that Shuang Wang has moved to Wuhan permanently. Probably a disappointing spell for everyone, that it didn't quite work for her here. Why do you think that is? Do you think she struggled to adapt to life in England?
I think it's a mixture of different stuff, but the one thing that she picked up a few injuries, which mean that she lost the preseason this year, for example. She played the first friendly games in the preseason and had some good games, and then she was injured for a long while. The other thing is the communication. You play football with your teammates, you play football and you have chemistry. If you don't have the language from the normal when you start with it, it's a little bit more tricky to speak and find the right chemistry. I still think Shuang is an amazing footballer technically, and she can do some magic stuff. But you need to do it together with your teammates, and that takes time. So I think her injury and communication was what she lost. And then when she wanted to have more play time, obviously it was better for her to switch club.
Thank you.
Yep, George.
Hi, Robert. Good to see you. You kind of mentioned about sort of the results last season at Tottenham Stadium, and obviously the Arsenal one back earlier in the season. Is there that kind of feeling and kind of determination to almost right the wrong of the Arsenal game and put in a performance that you guys are proud of this time around?
Yeah, I think, when we have so many fans coming and watch us. Last season we had 3 games and we won all 3 of them. That momentum you create around the team, that we want to raise the interest about the women's team and grow it. I think these are the biggest games we can get with that. Arsenal this year was tough because we came into that game with bad self-confidence and we didn't really play our best football, and I definitely didn't. I wasn't brave enough as a coach as well that game. So we're going to make sure we try to find the right combination of bravery and discipline tomorrow on Sunday to make sure we can go for the win. I'm also aware that the top 4 teams in this league is tough games for us. So we also need to understand that we are underdogs. We're not really expected to win, but we also know if we have a really good day, we have a good chance to win. So we need to make sure we get a good day and hopefully we get the result.
And with Man United, is there sort of a bit of feeling between the 2 clubs? Because obviously you had the final last year, and then Celine's gone there this summer, and obviously Grace went back, and you guys took Martha Thompson a couple of years ago. It sort of feels like there's a bit of a rivalry from the outside, at least looking in.
I mean, I think, correct me wrong, but the history has been 3 teams that have been really good, and Man United and Tottenham was promoted in the same time. I think Man United had a quicker way up to the top 4, and they had a good run 2 years ago, struggled a little bit last season. Now they are having a good run as well, and they have some really good players. And obviously, Grace Clinton and Celine Bissett is 2 great players that are playing there right now. So, but it's not really like we and Man United. I think we are one of the teams that want to break into that top, and they are already in that top 4, to be honest. So, but they are a good team. They have a good coach. They have a strong bench as well, and they defend very well now. So we need to make sure we are disciplined, and we need to make sure we find ways to hurt them. The away game this season was actually a good first 30-35 minutes, but then they killed us with 3 goals, so we lost 3-0 anyway. So we need to be a little bit more ruthless and a little bit more disciplined.
And just funny from me, you come 6th last season and 31 points. I think if you win 5 of the last 10, you can get to 32 and beat that. Is that kind of a big internal motivation to sort of show, I guess, progress in terms of results towards the end of the season?
Yeah, if you look at the result, like what you can actually measure, that's something we see that we can go for. But then I would say that if we can play really good football and show how we want to develop the team, and we don't reach that goal, but we do more consistent performances and almost reach that goal, that perhaps is also a different way to see it, because we cannot win the league this year, I can promise you that. And that's why we need to focus both on the trying to get higher in the table, but still the identity, the groundwork we have, because next season, that's when I want to make sure we can compete for real. So we need to build that, to be honest.
Okay, and Will?
Hi, Robert. Game management has been a recurring issue this season for Spurs, and the game last week against Palace came down to the wire again, despite, again, a strong start. How do you look to keep the intensity high as fatigue kind of begins to become an issue? These are kind of later on in the games and also later on in the season.
One thing is the experience that you have, and you learn from the mistakes sometimes. I think sometimes me as a coach need to learn how I can use the subs in different ways, or when you speak to them when it's a break and so on. But I think it's the journey we are doing. We are taking steps, but we still have failure in that journey. But we need to learn from them and make sure we don't do the same mistakes again. Game management is a really tricky one, because everybody should have the same game management, but somebody might feel this and somebody do a quick throw in anyway. And so that's more about the communication and get to know each other as well. So I hope and think that we're taking steps. Obviously, Crystal Palace came out with a really good energy, and the win was extremely heavy on that side as well. So I think they got a good boost by that. But then we actually had a game management where we find a way to win, which is extremely good. So I think we still do some good stuff in it as well.
And you've looked to strengthen what has been termed a leaky defence in the January window. How do you feel that the new signings are fitting into the pre-existing structure that you already have at the club?
I think Lisa Kopp is a brilliant signing. She's a brave goalkeeper, both in possession but also out of possession, to go out and pick crosses and everything. She's starting to build the relationships. She was cup banned for the 2 cup games, but in the league we won with her. She had 1 clean sheet, and obviously Crystal Palace scored twice, but it was nothing to do for her. It was to cut back crosses. So that's a really good signing with a good age and a potential in her. If you look at Olivia Holt, she had an amazing season in Sweden. Then she had an injury, so she came to us from an injury, which means that we need to build her up before we can have a benefit from her. But she scored against Crystal, so that was ahead of schedule. But I think she still need a month or so before she's really ready to show England what she can do. Josephine Rubrink is a really good player with high quality, and she can be used in different positions. She will strengthen the depth, but she can also, you will see when she plays that she's a very technical and intelligent player that can help us in the right direction.
Thanks, Rob.
Cheers.
Okay, we will move to the online feed. Chris.
Afternoon, Robert. Hope you're well. Team news for Sunday?
So Drew have struggled a little bit to make sure to play, and she's not injured, but she trained today. But I guess it will be too quick to get her in the squad on Sunday. But she's on the pitch, but hopefully back soon. Ella Morris is back on the pitch, but it's more that she needs a few more trainings before she's ready for the games. But otherwise, I think everybody's ready who haven't been injured.
It's been mentioned already, of course, Celine Bizet and Grace Clinton will be back at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday. What sort of reception do you think they'll get?
I think they will have the fans loved them last season. I don't think there will be anything else from that. But now they are not in the white shirts. I don't think they will have more than that either. But look, 2 great players, and Celine has been great for Man Utd the last upcoming games, and I think Grace has been performing the whole season. So let's see how we handle them. But they are good players, and they have more good players as well, of course.
Well, of course, since you've joined as manager at Spurs, you've been heavily backed in transfer window. Are you pleased with this one? Yeah,
I think we're taking steps with making the team younger and with the right characters and the right talent that we need to grow. I still think we need to develop the players we have now to make sure we can close the gap. But I think they are, the board is backing us up with making sure that we get the signings we need all the time. But obviously the other teams in the top also signing players. So it's always a patience we need, because we kind of signing players that we also need to develop before we can, find the right level for them. And I think that's the way we want to work. And I think it's a fun way to work, but it's also the reason why we are top 6 and not top 3 right now, because we need to take the next step with these players now.
You call yourself the underdog. Now, back in October, November, you lost 5 out of 6 in the WSL. I just wanted to get your thoughts on how you felt personally going through that many defeats, 5 out of 6, because it must have been tough for you.
Emotionally, it's always tough to lose, and especially in a few games in a row. And I mean, it's big numbers is obviously tough. And I mean, it's tough to lose, but I also feel like it triggers me, because every time something happens that it's tough, I need to find a way to solve it. And that's why I love to be a leader, why I love to be a coach. Every time that happens, it kind of triggers me to find a solution for it, and that makes me develop. So it's really tough, but it's actually also fun in a certain way, because then I need to be sharp, I need to speak to people, I need to push people, and then I obviously do mistakes in those situations and learning from that, but that's the part of my life how I want to do it. So in a painful way, I like it.
But lastly, to bridge that gap between yourself now and those top teams to get those Champions League places, is it just about more transfer windows? Is it about hard work? Is it a mixture of things?
It's a mixture of things. I think one thing is that we need to be more disciplined and defend better, because they have so good players. So we need to make sure we don't give them the easy goals. And then we need to develop the way we play and take care of the chances, especially the last third. And there's a few things you need to adapt to. But if you're going to beat teams that are experienced and have the top players, you need to be very good in the defense, and you need to be very sharp when you get your chances. We nailed that last year against Arsenal, and we had a cup game against Man Utd last season where we nailed it. But normally we need to be a little bit better in those situations. And when we are there, we're going to build self-confidence and sign perhaps a few players, but also develop the players we have so they can be the key players in those games. But we are still underdogs, definitely.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Ellie?
Hi Robert, hope you're okay. I just wanted to ask your thoughts on the Chelsea signing of Naomi Girma. Do you think it's a good thing for the WSL? We've now got the world's most expensive female player, or do you think it just widens the gap further between the so-called top teams and those lower down divisions?
I mean, in one way they sign an extremely good player, which is of course they become stronger. But I'm kind of a very advocate for raising the women's football. So for me, if that means that clubs show that they want to invest more money in the game, and that the English league is the one they do it, I think it's a good thing for the female athletes. It's a good thing for the whole of women's football. So if I just look at it with those eyes, I'm actually happy that it happened, because now it might happen even more, and then more money comes into the women's game, which is what we need to make sure we take steps. So personally, for the team and try to beat Chelsea is more difficult, but in the bigger picture, I think it's brilliant.
And I know you've spoken quite a lot since you came in about trying to bridge that gap between yourselves and the top teams, and you're making great steps on the pitch. Do you just worry that signings like this, we've got the potential incoming of Kira Walsh as well? Does that kind of take things out of your control a little bit? You're trying what you can, but if these other clubs just keep spending, does it just kind of make it mission impossible for you guys?
I get what you mean, but I think it's more like it might be that it just take a little bit longer time. I still think that the difference of Josephine Rybrink and Naomi is of course there might be some differences, but it's not that big differences if you can develop the players you sign. But it definitely perhaps needs more time to close the gap, and I mean that's what we're working on every day to make sure we can close the gap. But you need patience, you need time, and you need to have a really good organization, and that's why we're trying to build here in Tottenham.
Thanks a lot. Good luck this weekend.
Cheers.
Charlotte?
Hi, so both you and Bethany have been nominated for individual awards, Manager of the Month and Player of the Month. How does that reflect kind of your progress, and how much confidence does that give to both of you guys as individuals and the squad in general?
I mean, I think Beth agree with me that it's not individual rewards, it's basically team rewards. I mean, obviously I'm the head coach, but I would be nothing without my technical staff and the rest of the staff group. So what we're doing, winning games, is a teamwork, and it's very good to get that, that people see that Tottenham is a good club to work in. Bethany obviously scored a lot of good goals, but it's also connected to the teammates. I think it's a good, what you say in English, it's a good, it shows that we are doing good stuff in Tottenham, that we are taking steps, that we are up on those ceremonies all the time. But it's definitely for the whole team.